So I think in 20 years, the evolution that we've seen that's been incredible is how data has become more and more available as digital channels and ways of communicating with people through digital channels have come about. If you think about something like AI, artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, that concept first came out in 1968 with 2001: A Space Odyssey. And you'd think, well, what would be different now between 1968, which was 50 years ago, and now? Well, it's because we have so much more data available, which will help artificial intelligence and machine learning really make breakthrough discoveries. And so I think that's really the power of digital, is this ability to continue to gather data continuously, so to speak, and really to start building up all sorts of different profiles and personas for people. And it then drives that ability to personalize. So of course there's personalization when it comes to marketing, but if you think about health, it's exactly the same thing. We'll really be able to personalize the distribution of health and healthcare. So I would say that this is being a digital native before the terminology digital native ever came out. So people have a tendency to think about also the other terminology is common use about millennials and people who have naturally this awareness for technology or an understanding of using technology, using social media, and using all sorts of different means of communication, and definitely being very savvy with their smartphones. And that experience of being in computers and in computer science for a very long time has made me very comfortable with technology. And I think that's something, though, that is achievable by just anyone. It's not just because I have a technical background. I think you can't be comfortable. I think behaviors have changed tremendously over the last 5-6 years. And people really are getting used to doing things on their smartphones that they never did 5-6 years ago. And this cuts across all age groups. I even remember not too long ago, I gave my mother an iPad at 82 years old because she was saying, I need to be able to understand and to be able to communicate with the internet. I need to be able to adapt. What's the fastest way I can do that? And so I told her, well, just buy an iPad and you'll see it will come very quickly. And now my mother is actually writing emails, sending pictures, receiving pictures, and surfing on the internet. So again, this is something I mentioned earlier in one of the previous questions, is this ability to gather data and to get a better understanding of what people have on their minds and what, the personalization side of things. So us in the industry, it's not a natural thing for us to think about customer experience. Thinking about patients definitely, but thinking about this notion of customer experience is something that we're not used to deal to. But the power of digital is that we will be able to gather a lot more data in different ways than just doing clinical research to be able to understand patient experiences as well as customer experiences. So we've actually done some experimentation with chatbots in a few of our countries, and mainly to help answer questions around products and so on. And I think what it does have the ability to do is to kind of extend the conversation with the customers and HCPs, and to be able to be on 24/7, which is something which is not always achievable. If there are some questions, and people nowadays, they can just pick up their smartphone at any point in time and just say, oh, I've got something on my mind, let me go look it up on my smartphone. And that is something that, if you don't have these chatbots, you don't have that ability to be as reactive and to answer that question quickly. So chatbot open up that possibility. At the same time, though, we need to be mindful that we are a pharma company, and so therefore we need to be compliant with quite a lot of guidelines and medical and regulatory principles. And so that means that the chatbots that we put together have to be able to keep these strictures in mind. That question is a broad and loaded question. My first thought is, if I turn internally, is to look at our CEO, and I'm not just saying, just want to talk about our CEO, but it's somebody who's got a lot of energy and is a very charismatic person, And I think that's the first thing that kind of helps inspire us and make us think differently. He's always coming at it from a different background. And interestingly enough, the other reason why I think our CEO is an inspiring figure is our CEO is a lawyer by profession. He's not a scientist, he's not a researcher, he's somebody who actually has come from a different point of view and become the CEO of our company and driven it very successfully. So it kind of shows you that a person that doesn't have the background can actually take a completely different approach and turn a company like ours around. So there's that. That's the internal factor. From an external point of view, I find it really interesting to actually go and utilize social media. So I don't have one single person, I would say, that actually helps me form my train of thought or helps me think of ideas I would never thought of myself. But I have, let's say, 20, 30 people I'm following on both LinkedIn and on Twitter, which gives me some tidbits and insights that I probably would never got if I wasn't trawling. And then, of course, coming to conferences like this one, eyeforpharma at London, is also one way of understanding the trends, hearing some people come at it from a different angle and make you think differently.